that. Now, you can kind of see where we left off, and we're going to take a look at the coding here in a second, and then we're also going to take a look at what the web page looks like in the browser. Okay, so one of the things that's interesting is that we're using two different programs to view the same document. Okay, what I mean by that is last week when we learned how to create our index page, we did that in a program called Notepad++, and if you're on the Mac, you probably used a program called BB Edit to do that. And I had a question from a student about, well, what about the Mac instructions? You know, the cool thing about HTML is that it's web, so it will work on the Mac, it'll work on the PC, it'll work on Linux. As long as you're setting up your tags the right way, it should work with everything. So there's no different instructions for the Macintosh versus the PC. So you have everything you need right there. So let's take a look at the different tags that we talked about and how they are going to fit together. We did create our page in Notepad++, but when we preview the page, we preview it in a web browser. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up I'm going to open up my UFly flash drive. Here's my flash drive, and I'm going to go to my website folder, and I'm going to double click on index.html. Okay, and that opens my page in the browser. So in one view, I'm looking at the code, and in the other view, I'm previewing it in the browser. The other way that you can open it in your browser is to go File, and then Open File. And regardless, you know, if you're using Firefox or using Internet Explorer, which is whatever they call it now, or using Opera or Safari, you're going to go to File and then open up the particular page. So we opened up index.html, and that's what this page looks like. Okay, and the coding for this page looks like it does over here on the Notepad++ program. Okay, so let's review some tags, shall we? The first tag we learned was HTML. Now tags, as we talked about, have an opening tag and a closing tag. The closing tag looks like this. It has the slash before it. And then the closing tag for the HTML tag would be /HTML in the angle brackets. Okay. Now the rest of the tags are nested in between those two tags. This is so. For example, HTML is the beginning and it's the end here. Everything else goes between those. The next tags we learned about were the head tag, and that's where we put information, what they call meta information. And meta information is the information that's going to be about the page. It can include things like the title. It can include things like keywords and descriptions. For our example, we used the title tag. So for example here, we started our head tag, and then when I create a new tag, I usually do the closing tag. So and everything that's between these two tags, the head tag and the end of head tag, are going to be part of the head. So this is our title tag, and this says Dr. Scott's awesome website. And so how does that show up on the page? Well, it doesn't show up on the page. That was one of the questions from Lab 7.5. What shows up when you put stuff in the head? It doesn't show up there per se, but what it will show up, for example, if you use the title tag, if you look over on my browser over here, if I say Dr. Scott's awesome website, that's where that title information shows up. The key, but it doesn't show up on the body of the document. All the stuff that's on the body of the document goes between the body tags, and here's our body tag. Now, body tag is sort of an interesting tag because you can add some parameters. It also has a closing tag. See, this body open and body close. Everything that goes between those two body tags will be on the body of your page, right? Okay, so let's take a look at some of the features that we talked about. So on the body tag, we talked about making our text red and our background color black, okay? We're gonna look at colors again in just a second, but that's kind of what we did. So like, for example, let's change this to, let's make our text yellow. So instead of red, I'm gonna type yellow, Y-E-L-L-O-W, okay? And then I'm going to go ahead and save it because I can't see it finished or preview it until I save it. So now I can refresh this, and you can see that I changed the text to yellow. That's pretty cool, right? Now, you also see that when we did the links here that these are purple. And purple, when you see a link that's purple, usually what that means is that it's a place that you've already been to. Okay, so like a visited link is basically going to show you that it's purple. If it was somewhere we have not been, it would be blue. And those are the standard colors. You can actually change link colors if you want to go better with whatever design you're going to use. But we might talk about that later. Otherwise, you can probably figure it out on the HTML cheat sheet. Okay, so going back to our code over here, we learned about heading tags. We learned that H1 makes a heading of a particular size, and H2 makes another heading of a particular size smaller than heading 1, and they progressively get smaller as you go up. Okay, and I think there's 6 available, so you could say, let's do heading 4 style. Let's add another one. Copy, and let's paste another one in here, and we're going to make this heading 5 style. So I'm just keeping it simple and just not, okay, we'll just change these 4s to 5s. And then I'm going to also add a 6. Why don't we just go ahead and do that right now? And we'll do all of them. So you see all the different sizes of headings that we can use. Heading 6 style and 6. And that's good. Now I have to save it before I can preview it. So I'll save it here. And then I'll preview it again over here by hitting the refresh button. And then, so now you can see that here's the heading 6 style and here's the heading 5 style. It's kind of neat, okay? This is default text. This is the way that just regular default website text is going to look. So whatever your default settings are on your browser, that's going to use that. So that's this tag here, default text. The P tag stands for paragraph. So anytime you create a new line of text or a new paragraph of text, you're going to use the P tag, okay? All right. Now, the next tag we talked about was this horizontal rule tag. That's what this, this little object here, this line, that's what HR does. And so we used a couple of those. We used an HR here and we used an HR here. Now, just a note about spacing. You'll notice that I have these indented and I have them, you know, different kinds of spacing on my code document, on my .html file when I'm looking at it in Notepad. But I wanted just to demonstrate that basically the spacing between the lines doesn't matter. So I just added a whole bunch of spaces. I'll save it. And then when I refresh it over here, you're going to see that nothing's going to change because it doesn't really look at the spacing. It looks at what's going on with the tags. The reason why I'm using spacing here is basically so that you can see the different parts of what I'm doing. So I could write this all out in a straight line and it would still look the same on the page. Okay. So when I enter a space, it doesn't like make another line of text. So just you know, that's something to remember. We talked about lists, and for a list, we learned the OL, which is ordered list, and we also learned UL, which is unordered list. And I'll show you how we do that with the list again, where the first thing I do when I make a list is I need some kind of a heading to say what kind of a list it is. You can not use a heading if you don't want to, but then you're just going to have the items in your list. So this H3 right here is talking about this line right here, this my favorite foods. And so if I didn't have the H3, or if I used a, you know, you can change it to, you know, any kind of heading style, or even paragraph text for that matter. So let's make it an H1 just to show you. I'm going to probably change it back, but we'll just see what it looks like. So make it an H1. And I'll refresh my page again, boom, and then you can see that it's a larger text in the heading 1 style, okay? Now, here's where the list stuff comes in. OL, again, stands for ordered list, and UL is gonna be our unordered list. Let me show you what UL looks like. So OL is the numbered list, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that designates or denotes like, you know, probably layers of importance of out of my favorite foods, my first is pizza, my second is ice cream, my third is sushi, and so forth. Now, if it didn't matter ordering, what I might use is an unordered list, which would be UL. So I'm going back to the code over here. I'm going to change these O's to U's, okay? And we'll see what that looks like and how that works. And so I'll say save. And again, when I refresh my page here, I'll just hit the refresh button instead of bouncing to that. Now you can see that, see what happened was it changed it to bullets. Okay, so that's kind of not by importance, but just, you know, kind of a listing of things. Okay, I have my other HR tag here, and then we learned a link. We learned link tags. So the AHREF, that means Anchor Hypertext Reference Link. And then the first thing we do when we talk about our link is we talk about where does that link go, okay? So this is that information about where it's going to. The second part is the text that shows up as the link, okay? So for example, on this link, which is right here on the page, it says SRJC. Why does it say SRJC? Well, because that's what we have typed here after the link addressing, okay? And then finally, the close of link tag, right? So you have opening and then closing tag. And links are just one of those things you should, you know, kind of practice with it and try it out and see what your, see how they work. The same way here, ahref equals https://facebook.com, and then Facebook is the text here. Now, if I wanted to change that, I mean, I could change it to whatever I want to, or I could do something like this. This link goes to Facebook, and then I'll save it, and then I'll refresh it over here, and you'll see the difference. Boom. Now it says this link goes to Facebook here. Isn't that cool? Okay, and if I click on it, it'll still take me to my Facebook page. Yay! Okay, so go back to where we are, and if I refresh, it'll show me all of the changes that I made. Okay, fair enough. So I'm going to take this link goes to out of the equation and save it again. And I want to change my color back, but we're going to do something interesting in a second. Instead of choosing color that way, I'm going to show you how to choose the hexadecimal color. Now, the BR tag, what does the BR tag do? Well, the BR is what actually puts the link on the next line, okay? So it skips a line. So as an example, let me take the BR tags out of between these links, okay? Notice in the code here, I'm gonna do this. I'll take out BR, and I'll take out BR, and I'll take out BR here, and then I'll save it, and we'll take a look again. This, now you see that it's all in the same row, okay? What that BR tag did was it put a line break between the tags. So I'll try between the HTML link tags. Let me save it again, and we'll preview it again, and you'll see that they should go back to where they were, okay? Now the center tag is a cool tag. Center does exactly what it sounds like. Center is what I'm using to make this image and put that into the center, all right? Now here's our image tag, first of all. Image source equals, and then here's the name of the graphic. Now the reason why I don't have to provide any kind of fancy linkage or anything like that is because all of these files are in the same folder. Remember at the beginning I said to create yourself a folder, and all of your website files are going to go into that folder. And that's important because they need to be relative to each other for them to work. So when we look at my site files, we'll go ahead and I'm going to go to my file browser here, and I open up my flash drive and look at the My Website folder. You'll see that in here I have index.html, which is the page I've been working on, and then car.jpg. That's my car graphic, okay? So that's what's going on here. It can find that because if I just type car, because it's in the same place, all right? So there you have it. That's where we were with the tags that we talked about last time. Now, let's look at doing colors with hexadecimal, all right? First thing is, I'm going to move that out of the way, and let's change our text. Instead of using this yellow, say we want to do like more of a burgundy, and not a red, but more of a burgundy. So what I'm going to do is click on our modules here, and I'm going to go to that color picker widget that that we were looking at before. So I'm going to kind of scroll down and look at my HTML resources. And when I click on that, I'm going to go to my HTML color widget. And so I click on that, and we'll see what happens. Okay, so here are the HTML color codes, and it's cool because we can address these with hexadecimal numbers. So for example, FFFF, that equals white. How do I know that? Because we're going to talk about that. Actually, let's talk about it right now. Okay. I'm going to open up Microsoft Word and a blank document. Let's see. Okay. HTML colors. All right. I want to make this bigger so we can see it. And big. Okay. Now, the way that the computer looks at making colors, especially with HTML, is it looks at the values called red, green, and blue. And it's interesting because red, green, and blue are the primary colors of light. But when you talk about the primary colors of paint, like, you know, when we were in preschool, you learned what are the primary colors of paint? Well, it's like red, yellow, and blue, right? But in light, it's different. So in light, you have red, and I'm going to skip a space, and green, and skip a couple spaces, and then you have blue, or RGB, all right? Now, let's take a look at hexadecimal. Remember, we learned binary, and binary is a base 2, so 0 or 1, and then the decimal system is what we humans use from 0 to 9, and so forth. But when we talk about HTML colors, we use a numbering system called hexadecimal that looks like this. It goes 1, 2, oh, I'm sorry, let me start with 0, because it actually does start with 0. 0, 1, 2, 3, oops, not 3, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then you have A, B, C, D, E, F. And that's with one digit place, you can represent up to 16 different numbers. And how do I know that? Well, because let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So from 0 to F is 16 possible values. And we can use that in one digit space. So what does that mean? Well, let's do some examples. All right. Remember, 0 is the lowest and F is the highest, okay? So let's take a look at that color we know that we were just looking at. FF, and I'll say tab, FF, tab, and then FF. So that means that for F, we have, it represents 16, and then 2 of those would be 16 times 16, and let's get the calculator out, and we'll go 16 times 16 gets 256, okay? 256. So that's the value of 256, which is max on, okay, of that color. And then 256. It's actually 255 because we start with 0. So we'll just make that 255, and then 255, and then for blue, 255. Now, the thing about the light model of color is that when you take all of the colors of light and you put those together, it's the opposite of the primary colors of paint. When you take all the colors of light and put them together, you get white light, okay? When you take all of the colors of paint and you mix them all together, you get, you know, theoretically supposed to get black, but usually it's kind of like a muddy brown or whatever, you know, and so it's different. So we're talking about the additive model versus the subtractive model, okay, of color. So art people, that's what we're talking about here. So since we're talking about light, 255, which means, which is the hexadecimal number equivalent with, I'm sorry, FF is the hexadecimal number equivalent to decimal 255. So that means red full, green full, blue full, and that equals, this is going to equal white. Okay, that's kind of cool. Now, let's do some different ones. Okay, I'm going to make this, say, white. I'll take the decimal number out of here, and that's going to say that tab equals white. All right, now let's make some more colors. Let's do this. Let's take red, and we'll make red full, FF, okay? No greens, so we'll say tab, tab, 0, 0, no greens, tab, tab, and then no blues. And then that, anybody want to take a guess? What color is that?
Seems like it would be red.
It's going to be red. That's absolutely correct. Red. Awesome. Now let's go ahead and make green. So look, for green, we're going to go 0, 0, and then tab, tab. Green would be FF, and then tab, tab, and then 0, 0. And then that is going to equal green. And the same kind of thing with blue if you wanted to do that. Now, you can have variations between here. You can have this, say, 3C, or any permutation of these, which if you multiply it out, you get what would be base 16 factorial would be approximately, 16 million colors that you can make from this RGB model. So we'll talk about colors and things like that more as we go, but just, kind of get the idea that it's a mixture of red, green, and blue light that create the color that you're looking at. Okay, so for example, if I wanted to make black, I would just be 0, 0, and then I could tab over here, 0, 0, tab, tab, and then 0, 0, and that is like the blackest black equals black. Okay, now there's some other neat kind of tricks along the way. You'll notice that when I go to the color picker widget, if all of the digits are the same, it's going to be on the grayscale, and I'll show you what I mean by that. Let me pull this out of the way, and we'll go to our color picker widget and bring that up here. And let's take, so here's red 255, green 255, blue 255, and that makes the color white. And just to prove to you that you were right when you said, okay, what's red? We made that FF, okay? So let's change that to, we'll get FF, that's our red digits, 0, 0, 0, 0, and hit enter, and that is red, okay? Green, so we'll go green, 0, 0, FF, 0, 0, and then hit enter, and that's green. Aha, how cool is that? Now, remember I told you if I make all the numbers the same, it's going to be somewhere on the grayscale. So I'm going to say CC, 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 and then we'll hit enter, and that is going to be somewhere on the grayscale. Oh, isn't that neat? Okay. Now, it also gives you the hue, saturation, and HSV model. You also got the RGB model, but what we're mainly interested in here is the hexadecimal model, because that's what we can use in the code. So here's an example. We want to pick that color burgundy that we were looking at. So let me click on the model and get something a little closer to the burgundy that I wanted to try and find for that. And I can, I can move this thing around and see about finding that burgundy. Something like something in there, or else they kind of have a cheater sheet like crimson I could use, or fire brick. How about fire brick? I'm going to use that. So that's B2. 2222. Let's make sure that it's the same, and I'm pretty sure it's going to work. So B2 2222. So that means this. Okay, yeah, that's a good color. Let's use that. So I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to look over into my code here, and then go up to where my body tag is. And instead of body text equals yellow, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say pound sign, or hashtag these days, right? Okay, and then B22222. So let's see what happens when I save that, and I go to my web page to see what's going on here. And if I refresh it, look at what happens. Hey, it works. What a trip. So that's another cool thing that you can do, is address your colors in hexadecimal. Now, there's lots of different cheat sheets out there. You could go to Google and type HTML colors, and actually, let's just do that together and see what happens. I'm just going to open up a new tab in the browser, and let's see here what comes up, if I can get something to come up in the first place. Okay, so we're going to say HTML colors, HTML colors, and hit enter. And what I'm going to do is I'll choose images, and there should be a whole bunch of examples of all kinds of colors that you can use right here. So here's our HTML color picker. Here's some different colors. And so on all of these are addressed with the hexadecimal that you can use. Okay, so here's a simple one. HTML colors, black 000000, red. You know, so here's all the basics that we were talking about. Okay, so feel free to use those colors and have fun with it. Okay, so we got background colors. So okay, now what we need to do is we are going to be creating 3 more pages or even 4 more pages. And so let's figure out a way that we're going to do this and make it all work together. So first things first, what I'm going to do is put my page back up here onto the side. So I got my code here, my page here. Now what I'm going to do is the easiest way to create a page is to take a page that I've already created and save it as another name. And I'll make some basic changes and so forth. But so what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, this is my HTML, my index.html page. And what I'm going to do is I want to create a page that talks about my hobbies. Okay. Why not? So I'm going to say file, and now I'm going to say save as. So I'm saving this page as. I'm making sure that I save it in the same place. Remember, I am in on my flash drive in the my website folder, and the index is already there. So I'm going to name this one hobbies. Okay, so we'll call this hobbies. And making sure that it's saved as a hypertext markup language file, and I'll say save. Now this is called hobbies, all right? What I want to do though is I want to change it a little bit so I can recognize that this is the hobbies page, okay? So I'm going to make a change here, and I'm going to say this is the hobbies page. Okay. And now I have that kind of stubbed, so I save it. Now, if I wanted to preview that page, let's see what it would look like. It's going to look exactly the same as the first page, but it's going to say this is my hobbies page. So if I click on hobbies and open that up, this says this is the hobbies page here. So we see that that's a different page than the first one, right? Okay, the other thing I might want to do on the hobbies page is I'm going to change the background color and text color so that we can just separate them. So for this example, let's go back to HTML color codes and pick some kind of a yellow or orange. Let's see, let's pick this one. So E8815, let's copy that, and I'm going to change my text color to that yellowish color and put that here. And then we'll change the background of the page to this darker, a bit darker, but not quite black. How about that? And we'll use that, copy that. And so background color gets, and we're going to say hashtag or pound sign, however you look at that. We'll say save. And now when we look at our hobbies page, we'll refresh this, and we should see that it changed. Okay, so now we see that we're at a different page than the first one. I'm doing that on purpose because I want to know that when we link to these different places, that we're actually going to be at the other page. Okay, so let's create another page. We're going to create another page based on the hobbies page, just like we did with the HTML page. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say, go back to the code here, and I'm going to say file. And we're going to make this one about, put some photos of us on there, or my family photos, or your family, however you want to do that. But we're going to call this one photos. So photos. And making sure that it's saved in the right place with the right name and with the right type of document. And so we'll say save. Now, even though this is the photos page, if we didn't do anything to this page, it's still going to say this is the hobbies page, and that's wrong. So let's change this. Again, we're on photos.html. So let's change this to, this is the photos page. And this is the photos page, and let's save it. Now over here, when I look at, when I want to preview that, I'm going to have to open the file, and I'm going to open up the one that says photos, and it should say this is the photos page. See, it's a different page. Again, let's choose another set of colors just to make it different. And what we'll do is go back to our HTML color widget, and this time let's use dark blue text. Copy that, and we're going to use the dark blue text, and we're going to make it on a white background. So let's do that. Background is going to be FFFFFF. Okay, that'll be our background. So let's save it. When I look at it on the web page browser, when I click it, say I have my dark blue text against a white background. That's kind of cool. So you're going to be taking these pages and you're going to be updating them and making them about what you want to make it about. These are just suggestions. You can make the site as about anything that you want to, as long as it's appropriate. You know, it could be about a business that you might want to start up, or it could be about your hobbies, your life. It could be about school. It could be about your favorite this, that, or the other thing. You know, you name it. It could be about whatever you want to. But we want to make sure that we have at least 4 pages, 4 or 5 that we're going to do. So let's make one more page, or maybe 2 more pages, and we'll take it from there. So going back to my document here, I'm going to say File, and so we'll say Save As. And this one, we got photos, index, hobbies, and I wanted to do something about what would be good. My work. Okay, so I could call this one work, or career, or whatever. So making sure that's saved in the right place, the right name, and we'll say save. Okay, and now the work page. So I need to take this and I need to change this to about my work. So instead of this is the photos page, I'm going to say this is my work page. So let's change that. My work page. Okay, now we'll save it, and when we go over to preview it, I have to go to File, and I'll say Open File, and I want to make sure I open the one that says Work. Okay, boom, I do that, and say this is the My Work page. Okay, I don't know if that's exactly how we want to say it in the in our eventual copy that we're going to say. It's like, or this is the work page. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But let's go ahead and change the background color. So again, so we know that we're indeed on another different page. So get out the color codes again, and let's change our text color to gold. Let's do that. I'm going to use this gold color, and let's copy that and come over here, and we're going to paste that in for text. Okay, and then for background color, let's go back to black. And so we know in hexadecimal, black is going to be 000000. Okay, and then I'll save it, save, and let's go back to our page here. We have the work page open, and we right click and see now we have that gold text now, and the My Work page, and we got a favorite foods, and it's all gold, and black background looks really good. Okay, so one more page. Let's see, let's go File, and we'll do another Save As, and this one we're going to call favorites. We're going to call this favorites. Why not? FAVORITES, and it'll be a list of our favorite stuff. Okay, whatever that is, our favorite music, our favorite foods, our favorite people, whatever you want to do. So I'm going to do this called favorites, and we'll say save. Now we need to go ahead and change the favorites, and so in this case we're going to do some more colors, and so I'm going to use lime green for text. Why not? Because it's here. We'll say copy that and make lime green text. Pop that in here, paste that. I don't know why it gives me a couple extra spaces, but that's okay. And then background color, we'll stay with black, and I'll say save that. Now I have to, when I look in the browser window, I have to go back and I say File and then open up my favorites page. I should actually add this, not my work page, but my favorites. Favorites. And my favorites page is going to be lists of all my favorite stuff. Okay, so we'll say, and you know how to make a list right here. You'll be doing that. So let's say file and save, and open it up here. So file, open in the browser, and we're going to choose favorites. Boom, boom. How cool is that? See, now we got the favorites page. Okay, so how do we connect all of these things together? Well, the first thing I did was I created my pages first, and I wanted all of my pages created and put into the same place. And that way, when I create my menu, I can go to the different places from there. So let's create a menu that is going to allow us to link back and forth between the pages on our website. Okay, so first things first, let's go ahead and remind ourselves what different pages that we have here. So I'm going to open up again my flash drive and my website folder. And so remembering I have here work, photos, index, which we'll call home, hobbies, and favorites. Okay, so I need to create a menu bar that allows us to link between these. So what I'm going to do is go ahead into my code and under body. So the first thing I guess I want to think about is where do I want to put this menu bar? So I think in this case, I want to put it up at the top of the page so that I can get there from the top of any page. All right. So that means that I'm going to be putting in the body tag, and I'm going to put it above my heading 1 tag that I have here. So the first thing is I'm going to do this. So after the body tag, I'm going to skip myself a couple spaces, and I'm going to put my link in for my menu. And again, it's an anchor link, and we're going to use, and it's going to look like this. I'm going to say A space href gets, and then we're going to refer to the index page. So we're going to say gets index.html. Okay, and then I am going to set this tag to the other angle bracket, and then I'm going to type the word home, and then I'm going to say slash A, and the next thing I want to do is I want to include this character called pipe character, and I'll show you why I do that in a second, but I'll include this character. Now, if you look up above the enter key, pipe, if you hold down shift, the pipe character is right there. So let me show you what this looks like. So if I say save this, and it'll make sense in a moment, we're going to refresh this here, and you can see home, and then here's that pipe character, and then I'm going to have my next pick, okay, for my next menu pick. So the first one is home. I'm going to just copy this here. And after my pipe character, I'm going to put the next bit in here. And instead of index, we're going to call this, what are the other names? We have one called hobbies. So let's make the next one called hobbies. That's what we did. And here I need to change the word to say hobbies, or my hobbies if you wanted to. That could be fine. And then I'll save it. And let's see what happens when I put this here. So there we go. Here's our hobbies page. Okay, that's the link to it. It's purple because we've already been there, right? If we hadn't been there yet, it would be blue. Okay, next, let's do the next one. So I'm going to go ahead and skip a line here. That way, it's going to make a little bit more real estate available that you can see. So I'm going to put my pipe character here. The next thing is I'm going to copy this. I just copy it, and then I'm just going to take and Control Z, copy, and when I put it in the next line, I'll paste it and change my hobbies to, I think we called the third one photos. Okay, so I'll change hobbies, the word hobbies, to photos. Okay, and we'll make this say photos. Okay, and now let's take this, copy this again, And the next page, the next one we have is about our work. And so I think we called that work.html. So work, and work here. Okay, and then finally, I think we had one about favorites, or our favorites, whatever that is. And we're going to make this say favorites. And finally, favorites. Let me just change this back to just lowercase. It's a matter of case, doesn't matter in that case, but when we look at it, I want it to be capitalized. Favorites. Okay, that looks pretty good. Just kind of skip that. So here is our menu, and I'm going to save this, and let's take a look at what it looks like. I refresh it over here, refresh it on the page. Well, here's our menu: home, hobbies, photos, work, favorites. So if I click on favorites, it goes to itself, right? It's the favorites page. If I click on work, it says this is my work page. Hey, how cool is that? If I go to the photos page, it goes to the photos page. How cool is that, right? It's working, man. Hobbies page, let's see, it goes to the hobbies page. And if I type on home, it should be, this is our home page, remember? Now, how do I make it link between the files? Well, I need to copy this menu into all of my pages. So I'm going to say copy. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up each one of my pages. So in Notepad, also open, and I'm going to open up the index one first. And here's index. Now the nice thing about Notepad++ is it'll keep a tab so I can go between the two files that I've opened before right here. Now let me skip a line and paste my menu in here. Okay. So here's that. Okay. And there it is. And I'll save it. Okay, now that means when I refresh this page, my index page, now I have the menu here. See how cool that is? What I might want to do is I might want to actually center the menu. So let me put a center tag in here, and that might look better and a little bit more balanced on my page. So let me put the center tag in here. And I have to close the center right here afterwards, /center. And good. Okay, great. And let's refresh it and see how that looks. So it centers it up. So that looks a little bit better. Okay. Now, because I did that on that page, you have to make the other one look consistent with that. So I'm going to go back to my favorites page that we just finished before this, and I'm going to replace the menu item with the one that has the center tag. So we'll say save it. Okay. And now let's open up the rest of our pages. So we'll say File, Open, and we've done the index and we've done the favorites page. So let's open up Work, and this is the work page. And so I'm going to go ahead and skip a couple lines and paste my menu in here. Okay, paste that in there. And so I got my menu, and I'll hit save. So I've saved that. Now I'm going to go to File, Open again. And we've opened up favorites, index, and work. So favorites, index, and work. So we can still open up the photos page. So let's do that. And on the photos page, I'm going to, again, just do the same thing. I'm just going to put the same menu back into the page. And this is the same one I'm copied from all of my other pages. And we'll see how it's going to work in just a second. So we'll say save it. Okay, and then now I think I have one more page I need to update. So I'll say File and then Open. So we've done work, we've done photos, we've done favorites, and it looks like we have not done hobbies. So let's open up hobbies. Boom. And here's our hobbies page, and I'm going to, again, paste my menu into here, into the hobbies page, and that looks good. And I'll say save it. Okay, now get this. This is the cool part. When I refresh things, hopefully what's going to happen is that I can go between all of my different pages now. So let's see. Here's favorites. Click on that. It's my favorites page. And see how my menu is still up here? It's the same widget. So I can go to my work page. This is my work page. Hey, that's cool. If I want to go to hobbies page, I can go to the hobbies page, or if I want to go back to the favorites page, I could do that. If I want to go to my home page, I can do that. So now you are linked between all of your pages. That's pretty slick, all right? Pretty damn cool. And I want you to experiment with this. The trick again, though, is this. You really have to have everything in the same folder. So again, I go to my flash drive and I'm looking at the My Website folder, and everything that I'm using is inside the same folder. Super important. If you don't do it, it's not going to work. I'm telling you, okay? It will not work if you have it in a different place. It all needs to be in the same place. It will not work otherwise, okay? Now, let's go ahead and make some updates to the different pages, and we'll play around with some other tags. Instead of the Ferrari tag that we had on our index page, we might want to, yeah, we have a quick clarifying question. Yes, sir. What do we got? Owen?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I was just going to ask, so you are pretty much giving us free reign to do whatever we want as long as it's appropriate and we're using all these different techniques that you've taught us?
Yeah.
But other than that?
Pretty much, yeah. Other than that, you could kind of do anything you want. So use the tags that we're talking about, you know, put an image in there, horizontal rolls, maybe make a list or two, and it could be about whatever you'd like. I'd like you to have like different pages that connect to each other, right? But yeah, that you can be about anything.
Okay, got it. Thanks.
Really. Yeah, you bet. That's a great question. Yes. Any other questions? This is awesome. Okay. I do have another question on here that says, when are the corrections for the test due? They're due tonight by midnight. So that will be good. Let's see. Now, we'll make a couple changes to our web page. We've already changed the colors and on each page. We might want to change the graphics and so forth. So as an example, again, we used our image tag to make the graphics for the Ferrari. So let's find out one for, let's see, we want to get a couple more graphics. And so what I'm going to do is bring up just a web page, and let's find something for hobbies. So what's my hobbies? Gardening. Okay, gardening. And I like music too, but we'll just kind of go with gardening. And then I'm going to choose an image, and we go to images, and I'm going to choose an image that would be representative of gardening. So that, I think this looks pretty good. I'll take this image, and if I right click on the image, I'm going to say save image as, and I need to make sure that it goes into the same place. So I need to make sure that it goes into the My Website folder, okay, on my flash drive. I'm also going to give it a simple name. So I'm just going to call this gardening, and it's a .png kind of a web image graphic that we can use, and we'll say save. Okay, now let's go to my hobbies page, and I can go from there. We're on the hobbies page now, it looks like. And instead of car.jpg, we're going to say gardening.png. Okay, now if I refresh it, let's go back to the awesome web page here. And if I refresh it, I have to go to my hobbies page here and hit refresh. Oh, did I not save it? I have to save it first. Let's see. Okay, save, and then hobbies. There we go. See, here's our gardening picture. Hey, how cool is that? Okay, so now we do something a little different. Now, on your web pages, I don't want yours to say this is heading 1 style, this is heading 2 style. I want you to just use those in different types of ways. So, for example, on our lists page, you know, our list of all of our favorite stuff, which is going to be, I don't know if you're going to use that page. You don't have to even have a list page. But what I would do for my favorites page would be to go to my code here, and I would say, let's make some copies of the list here. So we copy that, and I'll make a couple other lists. So let me get rid of these here, and all of the headings. I'll leave my favorites page here, and so I'll put another list. So my favorite We got foods, my favorite music, and my favorite foods. And so for my favorite music, I can change these to like, see, Lady Gaga. We can change this one to Louis Armstrong, UIS Armstrong. We'll say Miles Davis. AC/DC. What can I say? I'm eclectic, right? AC/DC. And let's say Tupac. Okay, and then let me save it. And then if I go over to click on my favorites page, boom, then I have my favorite music, my favorite foods, and I can kind of keep going if I wanted to. Now, one thing you might want to play around with is that you can actually make these links if you wanted to. So they could be a list of links. For example, if you wanted to say, you know, have a link for Louis Armstrong, okay? Let me take a link text. And so we're going to say, okay, we'll say A space href gets, and we're going to say https://www.jazz.com and close that. And this will be the one about Louis Armstrong, and we'll say /A, and we'll end that here, and let's see what that would look like. So just as kind of just demonstrating that you can make these a link as well. So if I say refresh, and oh, I have to save it. Every time you have to save it. That's another thing we should know. Now, see, when you say Louis Armstrong, and it's going to go to jazz.com. So cool. How cool is that? So you can make these links, you can make these images even, you can make them just text, however you'd like to do that. But go ahead and play with that. Now let's do one more graphic here, and we'll change this Ferrari out with something else. And here we did our looking for gardening. And what I want to do is I'm going to type, I want to picture Miles Davis, because he's the coolest dude ever. Miles Davis. If you don't know who Miles Davis is, you got to do some checking out, because this guy was amazing. So this is Miles Davis, and so let's get this picture of him, and I'm going to right click and I'm going to say save image as, and instead of having this weird name here, I'm just going to keep it really simple, and I'm going to call it Miles. And then keep it really simple, and it's going to save as a JPG image, I believe. JPEG, yep. And we'll say save. Now at the bottom down here, when I have my my image here, I'm going to say it's going to be called Miles, M-I-L-E-S. Okay, Miles Davis is a cool cat, man. All right, so let's do that. And I refresh this page. There we go. Hey, see, it's looking better already. All right. So now that looking better stuff, that's all up to you now. You're going to make your own stuff. You know, however you want to do it. You're going to create a menu that goes between the pages. Okay. You're going to basically set all of that up. And what I'm going to have you do is you're going to submit it. And what I'm going to do is next week, I'm going to show you how to zip it all up into a zip file so that you can upload it to the website, and I can grade your stuff and look at your awesome web pages. So again, what is cool? Oh yeah, here's a great question. Oh, sorry, interrupting for that. That's good. How can you make a pic smaller or bigger? That's a great question. Now I have to say you can make it bigger by using tags, but I would really like you to not do that, because what happens is that when you stretch a picture out, it gets really pixelated. So I would say choose pictures in advance that are basically the size that you want them to be. All right. And so how do you do that? Well, you know, for example, I was looking up Miles Davis pictures, right? And under Google, you have some other things that you can use. For example, let me go up to the top, and if I go to tools, you can say, I want the image to be of size, you know, only large images, and you want to say, look at only the large ones, and then those will all be kind of in that kind of way. You can say, I want color, black and white, large, medium, small, and this will give you, when you go to large, you can kind of look at what the pixels are. It's 72 pixels per inch is the way that it renders on the screen. So I would appreciate it if you actually didn't use the HTML to resize it, but either pick the picture that size that you wanted to, or do a resize in, say, Photoshop or Paint or something like that, and then resave it and put it back into your folder. So that's what I would do, okay? So anyway, have a wonderful time with this. This should be a lot of fun. It is a challenge because you're dealing with, you know, different programs at the same time and making it all work and so forth. But that's what the video is for. You can kind of go back and look at the video. I might add a couple other resources and so forth if we're, you know, get stuck or anything. There are other tutorials on the web. The other thing is that it should work Mac, PC, Linux, it doesn't matter because it's HTML. And it's designed so that it works on any platform that you want, okay? Hey, listen, I love you guys. Get those test corrections in and get the Lab 7.5, which is Intro to HTML. And I will see you next week. Now, I'll stick around if anybody has questions that they want me to answer, but have a great time, and we'll see you next week, all right? Thanks again. All right, bye, everybody.